Alright, welcome to another episode of StichMethod. I hope this is a good one. Today we're going to be learning how to write some really cool riffs with Stevie Vaughan. And what I mean by that is first, we got to study Tightrope, one of my favorite opening riffs of all time. I hope that you are familiar with it. If not, I will play for you in a couple seconds. Couple caveats. I do not have a Strat, and I'm playing in standard tuning. So if you don't like that, you can unsubscribe. I'll see you later. Otherwise, let us go towards the riff. Alright, so this opening riff is fantastic. It sounds like this. Ooh, if I can play it right. Awesome. And when you hear it with the drum shuffle, it's fantastic. So what we're going to do first is we are going to dissect this riff. We're going to see kind of like the outline of where it comes from, and then we're going to take that outline, kind of like an equation, and we're going to try and write stuff of our own with it. So he opens up, let's just start with that riff again. I'll play a little slower. Oh, I should really get my chops better when I do videos. Alright, so we start with a 7th fret, 7 on the A, 6 on the D, 9, do, do, do. And then we go to the 5th fret of the A string, and then we bring it to the 7th fret of the E string. So our first little opening riff. And then we're going to hit a B7 chord, which we'll discuss in a little bit, which is 7, 6, 7, 8. Alright, and then we're going to hit A chord, G, E. And a little E minor pentatonic riff. Again, I'm kind of cruising over this because I'm not really showing you how to play the song. I'm just kind of showing you the pieces. But stick with me. I promise it'll be fun. Alright, so where does this thing come from? What's the outline of it? When I listen to this, doing the boom, boom, ba, 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 boom, boom, boom. Well, we have some definitive notes that kind of define the riff. Like this is what I mean. Like. So what is that? Let's study that. Let's go down to its skeletal structure. And you guys know what this is? One or two of you, 3, 4, 100, I don't know, might have said, hey man, that sounds like the E minor pentatonic played backwards. And I'd say, you're absolutely right. Here's your E minor pentatonic played backwards from the root note, 2nd fret, right? There it is. I'll do it one more time. Okay? Alright, so let's look at those notes. It is. Anyway, so let's go back to the exciting part, which is that riff is based around an E minor pentatonic, note for note, just stepping down from root note to root note. So you have E, D, B, ba, ba, bum, A, G, E. And when you listen now, here's your E, there's your D, to the B, it throws a 7th chord on the B. Oh, if I can actually play it. Then A, G, E, and then ends with an E minor pentatonic. So now that we have this basic movement of what's happening in Tightrope, which again, just that alone to me is fascinating. It's so cool how great he can use a pentatonic to write such a cool riff. Well, let's look at the beginning and the ending. Where are we for the beginning? Well, the beginning we start on an E. And the reason I want to do that is because we're starting on an E and ending on an E. So if we can draw like some parallels as to what he's doing for each beginning and ending E, we can start to see some magic. He's starting off on this E with a major arpeggio, 1, 3, 5. Now, I'm going to pause here for a second. This riff, the riff itself, I do not think of it as a blues riff. I feel like any 60s or 70s rock star could have written this riff and played it, and it could have been more of a rock song. I understand that Stevie Ray is a blues player, and I also understand that in the song, for the solo, he snaps right into a 12-bar blues in B. But this riff speaks a lot more to me as like a rock blues-infused, soulful riff. Now, the reason I bring that up is, again, we have this major arpeggio, 7, 6, 9, or E, G sharp, B. And it's like, well, why are we putting that G sharp in there first? This is based on an E minor pentatonic. Again, my Blues Trick #1 video, bringing in the major third. My Zeppelin videos, playing between major and minor. The Red House video I just did, balancing between major and minor is a big theme in blues and rock. So he starts off with an E minor pentatonic bass riff, but he has the gall or the ability or the wanting to make it sound a little bit different. So he puts in the major third, 1, 3, 5. goes right to the D, then he hits the B. Now here, what's really cool is he stalls here. You can hear the tension build at this moment, right? And then what does he do to add more tension? Well, he turns that note into a 7th chord. Now this 7th chord is pretty cool. It's the 7th fret of the E, it is the 6th fret of the A, the 7th fret of the D, and the 8th fret of the G. And the intervals in this one are 1, 3, 1, 3, flat 7. There's a little piece of a 7th chord. And then he adds the 3rd again, an octave on the 3rd. Totally awesome stuff. Okay, major 3rd, down the pentatonic, stalls on the 5, down the pentatonic to the root note, and then he ends it with a minor riff, open B, bends up on the 2nd fret of the G, releases to that G. That G is the minor 3rd, and brings it home. So major, pentatonic, stall on the 5th, pentatonic, minor. I mean, just like that riff tells a story. It's happy, it's tense, it ends gritty. It's so cool. I think it's one of the most perfect riffs I've ever heard. I love that riff. All right, so now that you have that information, kind of seeing how it works, and hopefully I'm not going too fast, and if I am, pause, rewind, slow down with the little gear button. It makes me sound drunk. It's really funny. Go do that right now. Anyway, how do we do this on our own? Well, let's take the basics. He uses a pentatonic first to write a movement in it. And in this case, he goes straight down, do 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 do. If you want to, I'm sure it can go straight up, dum 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 dum, or you can mix and match. So what we're going to do is you're going to take your pentatonic, we're going to write a riff or bass line in the pentatonic. And then at any moment you want to, where you feel like you want to embellish it with any arpeggios you want. Not arpeggios, any movement that you like. It's usually going to go within the scale or the key in which you're working in. And then we're going to, oh, I forgot to mention the last part. Pardon me. When he ends the song, or the riff, where does the vocals begin? Well, what happens is he actually, he climbs back up to the 5, and it starts on the B9 chord. Sorry, yeah. Messed up. So he goes, ends on the E, and then all of a sudden he goes back to the 5, and he starts on the 5 of the riff, which is awesome. Brings it back up to tension land, and then he actually proceeds to write the song around that. So pentatonic, beginning, ending, and then with a little bit of a stall on the 5, and then he goes to the 5 chord. I should have mentioned that. Or 9, or 9th, and that's where he's playing. He's playing a B9 for the verse. So let's take all that stuff. Pentatonics, messing around with your pentatonic line after it's a bass line, trying to maybe stall on the 5, and then when you're done, starting a riff or starting your verse on the 5. So I'm going to try to attempt to do that right now with the E minor pentatonic. But just so I don't rip Stevie Ray off, I'm going to try doing it differently, from thick to thin. So if I have... Man, this hand looks really, really white and washed out, and I apologize. Wow, that light is bright. There it is. A little bit of a stall on the 5. Up to the higher one. So there's my pentatonic riff. So let's see if I can embellish something. Okay. Okay, so my only embellishment I have is playing that 1, 3, 5 off the G. Okay, and it's kind of helped me stall on that B because the B's right there. Oh. Maybe throw a little pentatonic riff at the end. Okay, I like it. So now now I have this little riff, an opening riff for my new blues type song. Right? Up to the 5. And that's where my song would start. I'm on the beat. So why am I doing all this? Well, I want to show you. You can use the mathematics or the groundwork that Stevie Ray did in this song to help write something of your own that's a blues-based type riff that uses a pentatonic, embellishes a little bit with it, stalls a little bit in the 5 chord, and then starts on the 5 chord. And why would I want you to do that? Well, so that you can win an AS4 amp simulator. My second one. My first one was won by my in my phrasing video, and I'm gonna let you win a second one. Let's see if I can get into focus. Okay, so I have another one of these. So this is what's gonna happen. Is the rules are, if you want to enter this contest to win an amp simulator pedal, you're going to first film a video. It's gonna be one video, but here are the rules. You're gonna say, okay, and you can do this in any key. I mean, any key you want. You're going to say, well, here's my pentatonic bass line, and you're going to write a pentatonic bass line, and then you're going to say, well, here are the little bits of embellishments I took, and you're going to show the embellishments. If it's based in theory or if it's based in something that you just heard, it's fine. Just try to explain it. If you decide to stall out on the 5 chord in the riff, just mention it, and here's my little stall on the 5, and then when you're done with your riff, then start the verse. You don't have to sing, you just want to kind of come in on the 5 and hear how it's going to sound good if you were to write more of the song. It can be in any style, it can be on acoustic, it can be on electric, anything. But let's see if we can get some entries for that. So I wish you the best of luck. Maybe in the description I'll put the rules again. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that you learned a little bit of how to write some riffs with Stevie Ray and Tightrope and a little bit of StichMethod.